Project Blue Book. The true story of the Flatwoods monsters. What is this about?
The Flatwoods monster case, this occurred on September 12, 1952.
1952.
This whole thing happened at dusk, and there were a number of young people going off into the woods and saw some kind of fiery, glowing object that descended or came down. Two of the boys, Ed and Freddie, grabbed their mother, whose name was Kathleen May, and she came back with the group to see this thing, what they describe as a creature. It's very tall. It's got eyes that are glowing red, and it scares them.
Project Blue Book still in the early years, and it was reported to the Air Force because there was something in the sky.
Investigators who went there after the sighting stated that there was an unusual smell or odor in that area. And it was said that the trees...
Why is it always when there's aliens or UAPs involved, there's always that distinct odor or just a bad odor? Smells like ammonia usually. That makes you wonder why, huh? What kind of composition is their body made of that they're emanating that stench? Because it doesn't make sense. You have this technology, you're an advanced race, yet I don't know, maybe their sense of smell is just different from us. But it's weird that they're always emanating some sort of weird odor.
The area were singed at the top. There were investigators who said that branches actually were broken. Now that's very interesting. The branches were broken by something that evidently came down. This is one of the instances in which Project Blue Book was genuinely actively doing serious investigations at that time.
I do recall seeing the May family sketches. They weren't extremely detailed, but they were
Crazy.
similar. The family members all drew the same thing, which was interesting.
The official explanation
10
was
foot.
that it was a combination of a bright meteor and a delusion, a psychological case.
Most puzzling case. My father thought about that a lot and really couldn't conclude anything one way or the other.
Fascinating. All right, let's watch another video about this. This one's only 20 minutes long, so let's go ahead and watch this one.
Since this channel's inception, we have examined several encounters with strange entities, which took place in remote North American communities. In many of these cases, the bizarre nature of the incident has gone on to immortalize not only the being itself, but also the location in which it was seen. In this episode, we will be exploring one of America's most infamous encounters. Join us as we recount the tale of the Flatwoods Monster.
Flatwoods Monster. That's creepy.
When researching the specific culture and history of each of the 50 states of America, one will unearth many tales of alleged cryptid and alien encounters. These stories, having been continually retold and passed down through the years, ultimately grant both the location of the event itself and its unexpected visitors something of a celebrity status. Such incidents have included the Lizard Man of South Carolina's Scape or Swamp, Iowa's bizarre van meter visitor, and the haunting Dover demon. With these tales being so numerous, commentators will often jest that every US state possesses its own infamous and exotic monstrous inhabitant.
That's what it sounds like.
In one of our earliest episodes, we recounted in some detail the story of West Virginia's most bizarre visitor, the mysterious Mothman of Point Pleasant. But the Mothman is not the state's only celebrated cryptid, with another strange being having generated an equal degree of notoriety some 15 years prior, located only 25 miles to the east of the small city where the Mothman sightings
I
occurred.
gotta check that out. Mothman.
An equally mystifying creature, whose intentions still remain unexplained to this day, and forever changed the lives of the small group of people who encountered it. The events in question played out during the early evening of September the 12th, 1952, on the outskirts of Flatwoods, a small town situated within West Virginia's central Braxton County. Dusk had just begun to fall when two brothers, Edward and Fred May, were still outside playing near their home, along with another of their young friends. Just as the game they were playing was coming to an end, they suddenly caught sight of something unexpected, slowly appearing in the skies above them. They watched on with increasing curiosity at what appeared to be a brilliant red fireball, materializing from within the dark clouds hanging low above their heads.
Looks like
Initially
a meteor.
believing this to be a falling meteor, their excitement quickly turned to confusion when they observed the manner in which the fiery object was traveling. It seemed to be decelerating in speed as it traveled towards the ground, almost as if it was carrying out some form of controlled descent.
Crazy.
In no time at all, the glowing object disappeared from sight, apparently having landed amidst the trees of some nearby woodland. Bewildered by what they had witnessed, Edward and his brother quickly hurried home with their friend to tell their mother. Initially skeptical of the story, Kathleen May's resolve shifted when she saw the unwavering concern and alarm in her two children. Their insistence spurred her to take action and investigate the matter herself.
Doesn't sound like a hoax so far.
At their behest, she warily agreed to escort them into the woods to the location where they believed the object had landed, stating that they would take the family's pet dog with them as a precaution. She further decided to call a family friend, Eugene Lemon, to go with them, believing that his experience as a National Guardsman would provide further safety.
Okay.
Lemon duly attended the May household a short time later, accompanied by two of his own friends, before the entire group then slowly set off on foot into the woods. Cautiously, the small group made their way deeper into the tree line, realizing that they were traveling in the direction of a local farm, which belonged to one of their neighbors. Several minutes later, upon cresting a small rise which looked down onto an open patch of land within the forest boundaries, they located what the boys had witnessed. All would describe it as an egg-shaped craft of some kind, which was continually radiating a dull crimson glow, generated from somewhere deep inside its interior.
Crazy. Okay.
In addition to this pulsing red light, the strange object was emitting a large amount of greenish vapor, which seemingly clung low to the ground where it had landed. Acting on instinct, the family dog aggressively slipped its lead and then ran down towards the object, where it then suffered a violently adverse reaction to the vapor. Immediately becoming distressed and agitated, it turned and ran directly past its astonished masters, heading back in the direction of their home.
Yeah, dog's like,
But
nope.
before anyone could turn to follow the animal, the group had been disturbed by a loud and persistent hissing sound emanating from somewhere above them. As they had tried to identify this unsettling commotion, the beam from Eugene's torch suddenly picked out an unnatural shape, concealed within the reaches of a nearby tree. The dim light caught only fleeting glimpses of a strange figure, But even those few features were sufficient to ignite an immediate and overwhelming sense of terror in those standing below. Somehow suspended in mid-air was a humanoid figure approximately 10 feet tall, emitting a green mist from its body, similar to the eerie substance emanating from the nearby object. It was attired in what looked like a dark green cloak which rose up to form a hood, the shape of which resembled the ace of spades, framing a bright red head and face. The beam from Lemon's torch had just picked out what resembled a pair of claw-like talons at the extremities of the creature's arms, when something even more bizarre took place. 2 columns of red light shot vertically from the entity's head, almost as if it had opened its eyes and was scanning the skies above. These beams then gradually moved down towards the onlookers below and rested upon them for a moment, before the entity generated a further sinister hissing sound. Moments later, the bizarre apparition began to slowly descend from its hiding place, its body gliding along a steady and controlled path as it did so. The 2 beams of light being projected from its eyes remained firmly fixed upon the small group, as a growing cloud of mist accompanied its descent. At this point, with a cry of unrestrained fear, Lemon dropped his torch and turned on his heel, running as fast as he could from the woods, hurriedly followed by everyone else.
Why can I see cool shit like this whenever I go to the woods? Why can't I see cool shit like this? Actually, why haven't we seen any cool shit? Everything happened in the 50s. I don't know why. Everything happened on the 50s. We've seen all these aliens, these monsters. But ever since then, we haven't seen anything. Ever since the invention of the cell phone, it just automatically decline and drop. Come on, man. I want to at least see one good proof of these alien monsters or alien or monsters in today's technology. I mean, I have like 17 Pro Max. You know how insane of a quality that would be, even in night. Someday, man, I'm telling you, it's gonna happen. We're all gonna be shocked. It's a real being from another dimension, just walking around. Someday.
In the aftermath, the May household called the state police for assistance.
Yeah, I would.
Meanwhile, the health of several individuals who had been present in the woods rapidly deteriorated. Not only were several of those who had encountered the entity affected by dizziness and vomiting, but the family dog was also in a bad way.
That's something to do with that green mist.
The police officers listened impassively as the witnesses related their tale, exchanging quizzical looks before they later headed off into the woods themselves. They would return after half an hour, stating that there was no trace of either the object, the mysterious entity that had accompanied it, or the green mist the witnesses had described.
But it's the smell still there.
Statements were taken, and then the officers left, with word quickly spreading through town about the alleged incident, leading to further searches by neighbors over the coming days. But beyond some undefined indentations found in the ground at various points throughout the area and some freshly broken foliage, no physical evidence of the encounter was found.
No.
However, the fantastic nature of the story continued to propel it far beyond the boundaries of Flatwoods. With national media outlets hungry to hear more about the incident, numerous publications ultimately descended upon the town, leading to Kathleen May and Eugene Lemon being asked to participate in a CBS television interview to recount their tale. At this point, more witnesses came forward, adding further credence to a story which had seemed completely unbelievable prior to these additional accounts. Several weeks before, A young girl named Audra Harper and her friend had been taking a shortcut home through woodland near the town of Heaters, located not far from Flatwoods. Suddenly, the skies above them were bathed in an eerie red glow, which appeared to be emanating from a large orb that had landed atop a nearby hillside. Disturbed by a movement behind them, the two girls turned to see an impossibly tall and thin shadowy figure emerging from within the adjoining tree line. They immediately ran off as quickly as they could, later sharing the encounter with their parents, who had instead admonished them for walking alone in the woods after dark.
Yeah, typical.
Then, a married couple named Edith and George Snatowski came forwards to describe an incident which they claimed had taken place the day after the May family sighting. That evening, the husband and wife had been traveling in their car with their 18-month-old son along Route 4, around 20 miles south of Flatwoods. Without any warning, the engine of their car had cut out, causing it to coast to a complete stop, where it had then stubbornly refused to restart.
Mm-hmm.
George had then popped the bonnet and stepped out of the vehicle to investigate further, when he suddenly stopped, as both he and the car were illuminated by a bright light coming from above. Overcome by an intense smell of sulfur,
There it is.
a dark figure materialized on the road ahead of him
Either sulfur
and began
or-
to make its way towards the car.
Whoa.
Taking refuge back inside the vehicle,
Crazy.
George and Edith watched as this reptilian-like figure approached, resting its hands on the bonnet and peering in at them through the windows in an inquisitive manner. Seemingly satisfied with what it had observed, this unearthly visitor then turned and walked back the way it came, vanishing with the light being cast down onto the scene.
Looks like it's looking for something.
Not long after, the engine of the Snatowski's car had inexplicably fired back into life, allowing them to continue with their journey.
Yeah, it's crazy.
As with many similar incidents from the North American mainland, the Flatwoods monster has gone on to cement itself firmly in supernatural lore. It has been depicted in movies and television shows, as well as being recreated as an antagonist in the highly successful video game franchise,
Really?
Fallout.
Fallout.
And yet, with no apparent physical evidence that the incident ever took place, is there anything more to this tale than the questionable testimony of a small group of people? Skeptics point to alterations in the descriptions of the creature provided by the May family and their associates, as the story inevitably went on to gain traction across the country, and later, internationally. For instance, the figure was originally described as having been of average human height, but appears to have grown to twice that size over the lifetime of successive retellings. Elsewhere, the complexion of the entity was somewhat unclear. Both Edward and Fred were convinced it was robotic in nature, most likely some form of automated guardian or sentinel,
could
which had
be.
been watching over the nearby craft
That's, you
before
know-
becoming aware of the approaching witnesses.
That's what I was just thinking the whole time. Why would, I mean, if we're, they're more intelligent than us. Obviously, they're capable of traveling, interdimension, or probably faster than the speed of light. Okay, they're definitely technologically more advanced than us. Why would they send a I don't want to say human being, but why would they send themselves instead of sending a robot? What was that? I heard some weird noise. Why would they send? Why not send a robot? Right? I mean, we do that thing. Elon Musk, we're doing a mission on Moon and Mars, and guess what? We're sending robots first. Why wouldn't they do the exact same thing? That's what I was thinking. This is just a drone to them or a robot. That's fascinating, though. And since they're stuck in this one particular area, they must be looking into something They're why would they just stick in this one particular area, the Flatwoods in West Virginia? They must have. It could be a point of there could be a point, a singular point in this particular area where they can open a gateway through another dimension in this particular coordinates. Don't know. We'll see. Could be.
But in the same breath, they describe very animalistic and organic talons at the extremities of the creature's arms. This element in particular offers an alternative explanation for the encounter, with the claws sounding very much like those of a barn owl perched up in the tree, its shape and shadow possibly being grossly distorted by the torchlight that was cast upon it. This was a theory put forth by Joe Nickell, who, it should be noted, has something of a reputation for dismissing alien encounters as the misidentification of owls, attempting to debunk both the Kelly Hopkinsville case and the Mothman sightings in the same way. That being said, the encounter took place at a highly tense period during America's history. The national media generated a great
It's kind of hard to debunk that when you have multiple people saying that they saw a red glowing orb, right? You have multiple people, some of them children, some of them are children, and during those times, most children are not gonna make this shit up. During those times, when it's a very traumatic and stressful event, just like what happened to the two girls in Brazil when they saw that black alien creature. So it's kind of hard to debunk that.
degree of fear relating to Soviet spies and military incursions. So it's not entirely beyond the realm of possibility that the family witnessed something they could not explain and allowed their imaginations to fill in the gaps. And yet, there is evidence that the US government may have acted to try and cover up this event,
Of course.
along with several others that occurred around the same time,
Why
for
wouldn't they?
reasons which remain unknown to this day.
Why
Many
would-
years later, a local National Guard officer named Captain Dale Levitt disclosed that he and his men had been deployed to the forests around Flatwoods soon after the event.
Mhm.
Apparently, they had seized metal fragments and oily residue which they had discovered nearby. The men had then packed these up and sent them off to Washington, D.C. for analysis.
There's a couple of ways they would do this. They don't wanna. So the main reason they would keep this secret is one, they don't know what the hell they're dealing with. Number two, they don't want to induce panic to the population of Wisconsin. So was it Wisconsin, West Virginia? To the population of the area. They don't want to induce panic or spread any false rumors. And number three, they want to study this object, this metal, this liquid. They want to see if they can use it, reverse engineer it, find a way how to use this material, if they can replicate it, mass produce it. As a advantage, military advantage towards our opponent, which is the other superpowers, China, Russia, right? We want to be technologically ahead of our opponents, right? Just like when Oppenheimer invented the atom bomb, we were ahead of our adversaries. That's the main reason for all this secrecy when it comes to UFOs. That's my take on it.
At the same time, there was a much wider string of UFO sightings taking place along America's eastern seaboard, which resulted in the loss of a military interceptor aircraft.
Mm-hmm.
An F-94 Starfire had taken off from its base in Tampa, Florida, around the exact time that the Flatwoods incident was alleged to have occurred.
Yes.
Its pilot was ordered to follow a patrol route as part of an increased defensive strategy, generated by the wave of UFO sightings that were being reported at the time. But not long after it had arrived within its patrol area, the starfire unexpectedly disappeared from radar screens, prompting a far-reaching yet unsuccessful search and rescue mission. In the years that followed, all record of the aircraft and its crew, John Jones Jr. and John Del Curto, were quietly removed from United States Air Force records.
Cover up.
The military refused to answer any subsequent inquiries over the incident, including those submitted by the families of the two missing airmen.
Well, that's not good. They're actually...
Speculation has been prompted that whatever came down from the skies above Flatwoods may have been involved in an encounter of its own with the missing military interceptor. When all is said and done,
Yeah, man.
the Flatwoods incident is similar to many other such encounters of its ilk, in that no other related sightings were again reported after it took place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The creatures involved in such cases are presented in a very different manner to other mysterious entities, such as the Skinwalker or Sasquatch, seeming to have only visited for a very brief and solitary time, rather than settling into any extensive residence. And yet, despite its remote nature, its wider legacy sees thousands of visitors to the small and otherwise unassuming West Virginian town every year, all desperate to find evidence in favor of the story and to spend their hard-earned cash on souvenirs from its retelling.
Of course.
But in the end, only those who were there that day will ever know the truth.
It's gone. It's long gone. It has whatever it needed to do in that area. They're done with it. Fascinating, man. Cool video. Cool video.